Hey everybody, so Mortal Kombat 11 is finally out, and that means that we all get the chance to play it. And if you haven't played Mortal Kombat before, if you haven't played Injustice before, if this is a game that you're thinking about getting into, then I'd like to help ease that transition. If you're somebody who's played another fighting game in the past, you may have preconceived ideas about what to expect, and as much as I love them, and truly I do, some things about the gameplay in NRS games can feel a little weird at first. So this series is going to be intended to help people out, help ease that transition again to get into Mortal Kombat 11. I want to help people understand, the basics, combos, strings. We'll talk about defense, we'll talk about mid-range game, we'll talk about footsies, we'll talk about how to deal with pressure, all that sort of stuff, because a lot of it is a little different. Now, some of it's going to be very standard stuff, but always with a little bit of an NRS twist. I think the first thing we should talk about is strings, because this is the thing that most commonly comes up when I'm talking to people about whether they're going to get into Mortal Kombat, whether they are not going to get into it because of this. It's a concern that I hear a lot. It's true that they're a dial-a-combo in a sense. That is to say, you input the buttons a little bit before the previous one ends. Let's demystify that a little bit because it's not so weird, and it still allows you to do a lot of really cool things. It's not a big limiter. You can see what your strings are by just going to move list, go to the combo attacks thing up here, you can see at the top of the screen, and here's your list. And while it might look, what is there, a dozen-ish here, something like that, there's not that many in reality, because a lot of them are just component parts. So stand 1-1, or stand square, stand 1-1, these are the same string, it's just a component part. So when you think about it in reality, he has maybe 5 or 6 different strings. And just like in any other fighting game, you're going to use some moves more than others. So there will be some strings for Geras that you use all the time, and some that are maybe just for combos, maybe for specific pressure situations, things like that. Just like in any fighting game, you will have options that are better or worse than others, and strings are exactly the same way. In addition, think of strings as being their own little secluded parts. Okay, so it's not the case that, for example, if Geras has stand 1-1, that's a string, okay, 1-1-1, that you can't mix and match with another string that ends in a 1. For example, here's one that does that. This is 2-4-1, so 2-4-1, bam. That's a very different button than the one that begins the 1-1-1 string. So even though there's a 1 at one point, this is a totally different normal than it is during another string at another point. Within a string, in order to keep the combo going, you have to press the button for the next part of the string before the previous one ends. Okay, and I think that seems pretty self-explanatory. It's dial-a-combo, as people say. You don't need to mash it out. In fact, there's a window that you can cancel into the next one, and it typically goes into the active frames of the previous button. Not easy to hit from the first hit of a string, but by the time you get to a second hit, it's very easy to do. You have quite a window in which to cancel. So although there is this dial-a-combo feature, and you do need to input the next button before the previous one ends, you still have a pretty significant window in there where you can see whether the attack is hitting or not and continue, or see that it's being blocked and just stop. Now, the strings that are listed in the move list are not the only string starters in the game. There's another class of them, and those are the jump-in punches. So in every other fighting game that I know of, in order to do a jump-in combo, you would do like a jump-in attack, then land and recover, and then you do the rest of the combo. No, not in NRS games, not in Mortal Kombat 11. The follow-up to a jump-in punch needs to be started in the sky, when you're still in the air, because again, you have to think of the jump-in punch as being the start of the string. You need to cancel that hit into the next one before the first one ends, just like on a grounded string. It's the same kind of issue as before. Does that mean that you cannot hit confirm? No, does not mean that. But it does mean that you're going to need to rely on the second hit of the string in order to confirm. Don't think of this as being like a limitation. I really like it actually because it makes me, as the attacker, think about what may come up so that I already have the string in mind that I want to do. And as the defender, it gives me additional ways to escape from the opponent's pressure. If I'm not doing what they thought that I was going to do, that their string would get hit, that would hit, I'm not going to be there. Maybe I'll fall away, maybe I'll block, maybe I'll be able to escape. So there is this extra layer of prediction that comes because the jump-in attack is a string starter. Now the question is what you do with a string once it's begun. It just depends on the string. some strings have good endings to themselves. This seems like a nice one, I guess, for Garrus, that he gets a little knockdown for himself here. You could also just cancel and do a special move, of course. And that has to be done with the same timing as we were talking about previously. So you need to cancel the hits of your string into the special move before the previous move's over. Of course, there are some moves that don't have strings listed as being attached to them. Here's an example for Garrus. So his stand 4 isn't listed as having anything that follows directly from it, but you can still use it to combo into stuff. So here's a little low special that we've been doing after the stand 4. And that combos, and that's fine. But there is a class of buttons that actually cannot combo into things on the ground. Okay, these are called pokes, and they are down 1, down 3, and down 4. They just can't start combos. They're just not allowed to. Not a combo. As you can see, there's only the 2 hits from the special itself. Down 3, same way. They just aren't allowed to. Now, that's not a big deal in terms of how the game actually plays out. There's other things you can combo with, right? If you want a combo, you just don't press down 1 or down 3 or down 4. But they have pretty good uses anyway. We can get to that stuff later. But just know that for combos, these do not start strings. They do not start combos. They can be used in combos in some ways if you got the opponent in the sky already. But on the ground, negative. Now, after all of this talk about canceling, needing to cancel stuff before moves end, you may be wondering, if you come from a game like Street Fighter, whether there are what Street Fighter calls links. That broadly does not exist in NRS games, and Mortal Kombat 11 as well. There are 2 basic categories where you can link out of stuff, but they're a little bit unusual. Okay, here's one example. For Garrus, he has the ability to cancel a button. If you can cancel first, then you can get a link. Let me show you. Okay? So that works because you canceled first, then you get to do a link. The other category of moves that allow you to link, you need to have a move that causes what we call a capture state. That is to say, a state where the opponent is just stuck, they can't do anything, and you get to hit them again. Garrus has one of those. This. Okay? So during that time, the opponent is just stuck there, and as you can see, the combo counter kept going up and up and up. But please, don't look at this combo system with its hard-coded strings and whatnot, few natural links, and think that it's not a complex combo system that you can't come up with cool stuff in, because you definitely can come up with cool stuff. It's very common that an NRS game comes out and nobody knows what the good juggles are for months. I mean, there have been instances where characters have gone a year before their juggle system is fully fleshed out, because there's just so much that you can do in the juggle system. Almost every character has a launcher that causes a juggle. Here's Garrus, one example. He's got another example. So for him, there's a couple, but almost every character has at least one. Every character has access to at least one knockdown that continues the combo. That's jump kick. So every jump kick in the game causes a knockdown that allows you to juggle afterward. This is not like a jump punch that starts a string. This is a knockdown, and then you have to press buttons after that. And juggles are as complicated as you can kind of imagine making them. Typically, the rules about juggling is just that the more you hit the opponent, the faster they'll fall, which means eventually they'll fall out of your combo. But other than that, anything will go, right? Whatever you can make work. So for him, right, you got this pop-up. In the corner, you can do anything, right? This guy, this guy, this guy. Whatever you got, you can put it in there. Any of your other strings, any of your other specials. It can get very complicated. And that is where the creativity of the combo system comes in. It's in the juggles. Here's a pretty cool example. I hope that this has been useful for you. You know, I just want to help demystify how the string system works and how other things in the game work as well. If you're somebody who's getting into MK11 for the first time, then maybe this can help you kind of figure things out rather than having to puzzle through yourself. Or if you're somebody who hasn't played a Mortal Kombat game because you think the string system might be a little funky, I hope this is a better explanation that might convince you to try it out, because I really, really like it. You know, I'll be talking about other things in the future as well. I'll be talking about footsies and the neutral game. I'll be talking about defensive options. I'll be talking about mix-ups, all sorts of stuff to help you get into this game. And please let me know if you have any questions, anything you'd like me to address. Give me a subscription, check it out down below, give us a like, and we'll see you in the next video.